it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help. It's time to switch it up, put the hip shit on the shelf. Cause the way the real wealth is being real with self. My eyes done seen the glory of the coming of the left. I can't do it by myself, so I'm asking for help.
Money, money, money. That's all he talks
There's
about.
nothing wrong with being wealthy.
I know he
Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, but not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth.
Money is the root to all.
No, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. If you don't like money so much, why don't you get up and go to work? Yes, I do think about all the things and one thing you have to study it. I'm just trying to leave a legacy for my family. Money's not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. And now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, financial health mentor to the working class, Mr. H Cortez.
Good morning, y'all, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community, where I do my best to bring practical, proven wealth building strategies to working men and women all over this great nation of ours. Coming to you live and direct from the Mikey Knows Biz, or Mikey Learns About Business studios here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you haven't copped my man's book, you got to go check that out. Today, I'm super excited, man. We got two phenomenal guests that are going to grace the show of Talking Money in the Morning Live, man. These women are absolutely awesome. So I want you to buckle your seatbelts and I want you to get prepared. So we're going to skip our normal intro. You guys know that this show is about building wealth. If that ain't you, exit the stream. You guys know that I'm a future billionaire and you guys are racing to $1 billion with me. And if we fall short, we might land on 100 million. But if you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, if you're watching us on Facebook, go ahead and share the stream and let's get this conversation started, man. I am super excited to bring to you my first guest. This young lady I've been following for a little minute, and I've been checking out her swag, her heart, her compassion, and she is the author of Through My Eyes, man. So I want you guys to give me a warm Talking Money in the Morning Live welcome for my girl, Miss Brandy Gates. So give me a second as she pops on. Let me make sure that she is unmuted. Wait a minute. There we go. Brandy Gates, how goes it this morning?
Good morning.
Cool. So you are the author of this little gem right here, man. I've been going through it, man. It is got some powerful nuggets in it for everybody. So really quickly, tell everybody who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Okay, good morning. My name is Brandy Gates, and I am a transplant to St. Louis, Missouri. I'm originally from Oakland, California, where I was born and raised, and I went to Louisiana to go to college. I went to Louisiana Tech University for my undergraduate degree, and I got a bachelor's in business administration. And then I earned my master's degree from Missouri Baptist University here in St. Louis in business administration also. Currently, I am a police officer. I served for St. Louis City Police Department a little over 6 years, and then I left and went to the VA hospital for Veteran Affairs. So now I'm a federal police officer, and I'm in the Navy Reserve. I've been in the military for 7 years, and I just did my re-enlistment for 4 more. So I'm the only girl out of 6 brothers, and I'm kind of like in the middle of all of them. Okay. I'm 38 years old, and I don't have any kids, so I've traveled a lot, and I've seen a lot of different things over my short life.
All right, good deal. So only girl of 6 brothers. That explains cop, military, and all that kind of stuff. So just wondering how did you get there? But also, I just want to take the opportunity to thank you for your service, guys. If you haven't already shared the stream, please share the stream. But I want to thank you for your service, man, because it's because people like you, I'm able to do what I do in this land of capitalism and democracy. I have the freedom to be an entrepreneur. But we're going to dive right into this book, guys, and I'm going to read an excerpt of this book before I start peppering Ms. Gates with questions. It says, I need a healing for my soul, and maybe you need one too. I wrote this book to help me heal from multiple traumatic incidents which took place in my life over the years. This is for me, for you, and for every person who wants to give up but knows they can't. There are a lot of broken people on the inside who try to mask their brokenness with makeup, hair weave, red bottom shoes, false eyelashes, cosmetic surgery to different parts of their bodies, designer purses, vehicles, designer watches and tennis shoes, clothes, electronics, and even use relationships, lovers, to mask the pain inside of instead of facing it. So let's talk a little bit about, I don't know how deep you want to go, but let's talk about a couple of those traumatic experiences that led you to go down this path for self-healing. And then you ultimately said, you know what, I've used these 10 things that helped me along my journey. Perhaps I should put it in a book and that could help somebody else.
Okay, well, what led me to actually writing my book was the explosion that I went through in Afghanistan during my tour in 2014. When you are away from home, you're away from everything you know, you're away from your comfort zone, you have a lot of time to think, you have a lot of time to reflect, and a lot of things that you didn't deal with will come to surface because it's just the dynamic of you have nobody around and you have no distractions. Like every day, your daily routine is the same when you're on deployment. So your biggest job and focus is to stay alive, so that you can come home. So basically it's, to go home safe every day back to your rack and as well as your people that you're over when you're on deployment. And then, depression, you battle depression off and on a lot when you're on deployment. If you don't have a good battle buddy and a good unit that you're working with, your stress level is just on 1,000 because you're operating at a level that is not normal. You're always on heightened alert. You're always, situational awareness. You never really get to digress. Like here at home in the States, most of the time, once you get off work, you leave work at work. And when you come home, it's like, okay, I unwind, I digress. You don't get to drink on deployment. You don't get to leave, and go anywhere off the compound. So you are confined to a small amount of space. You're dealing with the same people every day. You're working 7 days a week. You're on a different time zone, and you're in a culture that is completely the opposite of everything you know and how you were raised. For me, being a female in a Middle Eastern culture where I'm not considered a human being, I'm considered property. They don't look at me as a career woman. They don't look at me as someone to take seriously or even to take a directive from. So, you have to adjust a lot of everything, and it's just basically becoming a whole nother person. So going through the explosion, which happened about 50 feet from where I was standing watch, it was a very traumatizing experience. We trained for that particular day for in the event that it happened. But even when you train, nothing really prepares you for actually going through an explosion, blowing up, that close to you, and the shock that it puts you through, the emotions that run high after the fact. And then still you have to, be able to function to do your job at the time. And then you have to deal with the aftermath and process everything that happened. So with that is what led me to writing my book. And in doing that and writing my book, I had to go back and face all of the pain that I buried from having an absentee father. I was raised by my stepfather, but I always had a void because my birth father was never, in my life and never wanted to be in my life. He was not a consistent, individual for me. And it always had a negative effect on me. So then you compound that I was molested by my dad's sister's son, my first cousin, when I was about 7 or 8 at my grandmother's house. So, you start, everything just kind of comes to a head at one time. And writing and reading has always been very therapeutic for me. So I just began to write and just write all my feelings, write my emotions, write my frustrations, write about my pain, everything. And that's how my book actually came to fruition. It wasn't something I set out to do. It wasn't something I planned on doing, but it was something that was a byproduct of a way that I used to cope with what I was dealing with to the best of my ability, because I didn't have my mom. I didn't have my dad. I didn't have my friends. I was in the middle of nowhere over in the sandbox, way on the other part, of the world. So coming home, I had to go through therapy. I had to go through counseling. I wasn't sleeping. After I went through the explosion, I was up 5 days straight.
Wow.
And then by default, my body would crash and I would sleep. And then I would be up again for 5 days straight, roughly 4 to 5 days. And just my body, my stress level, everything, I wasn't myself. I had very little patience. I was very snappy. And then to top it all off, while I was over there, I'm watching CNN and looking at Ferguson. So I'm looking at this is what I'm coming home to. I'm in a combat zone. I'm in a war zone. I just went through an explosion and it looks like a war zone in my own home where I'm going. My friends that I left that are police officers that was here working, it was just like all of that combined was a whole lot to process. And I tell anybody that, through those experiences, through the explosion, I said I was able to see very clearly how people end up turning to suicide, how people start turning to drugs or turning to alcohol and try to self-medicate. They want to bury the pain. They don't want to feel it because they're not ready to deal with it. They're not ready to face their truth. And that was my truth. Who am I supposed to be after going through what I went through? Who am I supposed to be after experiencing such a traumatic experience and such pain that I didn't even know where to begin to process what had happened to me? I didn't even tell my mom. My mom didn't learn about it till I wrote my book. So, I understand the how, and I'm a female, and most females are pretty, I guess it's easier, in my opinion, for females to express themselves and talk about things, than it is for guys. So, you have the armed services, mostly men. So you have a lot of men who bury and self-medicate. And at some point, the closet is going to bust open. And if there is no way for them to figure out how to address what's been holding them down, that's why the divorce rate and the problems are so high with military families as well as police officers, because they're one and the same when it comes to the stress level, when it comes to the stuff that we see, that we deal with on calls, that we deal with on the scene, and that we have to figure out ways to compartmentalize all of that negative stuff that we deal with. So by me opening up and talking about it, I know that child molestation is very high in the African American community. It's about 1 in every 4 are victims of child molestation. So I was just hoping, and the reason I ended up, after I wrote it, my intent and my goal was for young women not to feel ashamed about it and not to take ownership of someone else's choices and someone else's wrongdoing and blame themselves or take on the pain that was caused by something someone else did because their motives, and stuff wasn't right. And based on the reviews that I've gotten back thus far about my book has set out what I intended it for do, to let people know, hey, you don't have to keep carrying the burden. You don't have to keep holding on to the pain. You can start over and you can overcome it. It's a one day at a time situation. And each day that you wake up, you have to look at each day you have as a fresh start and a clean slate to do wonderful things, to do whatever it is you set your mind to do. Because at the end of the day, you did wake up, and what happened yesterday is in yesterday. You can't change that, but you can change your future in the direction that you want to go. And I'm a living witness to that. Nobody will look at me and ever think that that was my story.
Exactly. What a powerful story it is. I don't know if you've ever got a chance to hear my testimony, but I deal with child molestation myself. And as a man, you're right. It's not as easy for us to talk about it. And it actually led me to a bout of depression. I spent time in a mental institution trying to get my mind right. But here's the question. You said a lot of heavy stuff that we got to touch on. Number one, you went through that kind of trauma in service, and yet you came home and decided you're going to be a cop, right? I'm wondering, what is that? Just something that's in you to serve in that capacity, in that kind of environment? It seems almost to me that you would have said, okay, that was enough. I don't want to put myself in the position where I would be dealing with traumatic situations like that, or the potential to be in traumatic situations like that all the time. So what was the thought process when you decided to go through the academy and go ahead and become a police officer?
Well, I became a police officer before I went to boot camp. So I got commissioned. I graduated May 20th of 2010. as a police officer. So I was already a police officer before I went on my tour to Afghanistan.
Okay.
And yet I don't know where I get it from as far as, that drive or bug to be a public servant and to want to help people, but it's always been in me, and that's what I've always wanted to do. So the thing that I knew for me, I just had to go to therapy and counseling in order to be able to have the patience to face and deal with what was taking place at home, because back home is where I was returning to, and this is where I live. And they had a really great program in the Navy. I stayed 3 months in Norfolk, Virginia, and went to see every specialist they had, and I went through like a 1-week therapy class to address and talk about different things. And the cool thing that I learned from my counseling was that you don't have to serve in a combat zone to suffer from PTSD. You don't even have to be in the military to suffer from PTSD. All you have to do is go through a very traumatic experience. A traumatic experience can be, losing the life of your child or a loved one unexpectedly, or a parent unexpectedly. That grief that hits you, which comes, associated very closely with depression, your inability to process that in a way where you are, I guess, more or less in control of, your mind and your ability to function at your potential capacity. That's it causes this normal.
Brandy is breaking up a little bit.
You start talking about PTSD. So I think the best thing about it is when you understand the triggers, the cause and effect, and how you got there, it makes it easier for you to admit that, hey, I need to get some help, and to want to take the steps toward addressing it. But if a person is in denial about it, it's a lot tougher for them to do.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about, you said that the absent father, even though it sounds like you had a good man and your stepfather who stepped in and raised you, but you still were dealing with the effects of your biological father not wanting anything to do with you. And I'm experiencing that right now with my son. I raised my oldest son, who's we don't call him stepson, of course, but he's my stepson from age 4 until now. And all of a sudden he's kind of turned his back on us. And I keep telling my wife he needs help, in the sense that he's taking out on me what his father didn't do, his biological father didn't do. So talk a little bit about how you could have a man raising you as his child and still feel ill feelings towards or feel neglected by the man who was missing, and how that led to some early trauma in your life.
Well, for me, like the void of it being there, because that's your DNA. When you don't know, so that's a connection that you're missing, knowing about like your family history. You don't have the relationship with your birth parent. You also don't understand why a person would create you and give you life and then reject you and not want to have anything to do with you. And I can say for me, that's part of why I don't have kids. I have a terrible fear of bringing a child into this world and that child going through what my father put me through, which telling people, you're going to come by and you're going to get me this weekend, and you get me all excited, and then you don't show up. Right. You don't call, you disappear. I don't hear from you for whatever, 6 months, however long it was. And it's just like that constant inconsistency, and that takes place with that, the emotional wear and tear. It takes your self-esteem takes a beating. So the need for validation or the need for acceptance is because that's a part of where you come from. The only good thing I can say about my biological dad is if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. That's it. That's a hard truth to accept, that, that's the only thing good I can hold on to from the person who gave me life, is that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. Right. I don't even know what things I get from my dad from a genetic standpoint. I know everything that was instilled in me, and my mannerisms or how I do certain things, that was all instilled in me by my stepdad. So at the same time, although I didn't go without having the 2-parent home, and I had the positive role models and I had the influence, that's just a void. Everybody have that void, and they have to find a peace with that situation and to be able to accept the situation, whatever it may be, for what it is. And sometimes when the wounds are too deep, you know, there is no going back to try to make restitution where you can actually have a relationship with that person. The best decision you have is you forgive them and you move on, and you let it stay in the past. Although they're still alive, you accept what your life has become and the person and the people that they're contributing factors with. And that's what keeps you going, and that's where you find how to share what you went through, because it takes some people longer than others. We all are good at suppression, dodge, deflection, and not dealing with our truth, because it's easier to blame somebody else. It's easier to point the finger, and it's easier to, you know, suppress what we really feel. And the thing that I've learned, writing helps me express how I really feel. And I don't have to worry about nobody judging me about it. I don't have to worry about, you know, if somebody's get it. When I release it, I'm like, well, how could you share that with the world? I said, because that's where my connection and my professions come from, truly wanting to be able to help people. Because we don't, in Black families, seek counseling. We don't seek help. It's taboo or whatever. Yeah. We're always telling somebody what happened.
Uh-oh. So it looks like our connection is getting a little weak, Brandy. But let me just jump in here for a second and see if we can get her connection to reinstate. What she's talking about is very, very real. I experienced that. You know, I suppressed my emotional pain for years, and it ultimately led to me imploding, because that's the type of person I am. And thank God I'm that type of person, because some people are the type of people who explode. So you can suppress something so long enough to where it can cause you to implode, or it could cause you to explode, and exploding means you could have went and hurt a whole lot of other people at the same. So let's see if Brandy, looks like you kind of froze up just a little bit. Let's see, it looks like she's trying to move around to get a better connection. But yeah, I actually imploded, man, and really wanted to do harm to myself. I just wanted to crawl into a ball and die myself, versus exploding and going to shoot up a school or something like that. But those are the kinds of thoughts that can go through someone's head from years of suppressing pain instead of releasing it. So thank goodness you found an outlet, and talk a little bit about why. You mentioned it being taboo, but why we as Black people won't seek help. We don't see mental illness as real illnesses for whatever reason. So let's see. Can we give me a mic check? See if you're back on.
Hey.
Okay. Hey. Yes.
Okay.
So talk real quickly about why you think we don't seek their help. Even people who come through. I know when you think about post-traumatic stress syndrome, everybody's trauma is different at different levels, right? So we can't judge whether or not that's traumatic to somebody else. It might not be traumatic to me, but it might very well be traumatic to you. But even those who are coming from military situations, even police officers who see this death and destruction all the time, why is it that we won't go seek help or even look at mental illness as a real illness?
I think it just comes two things. I think number one, we all have an issue or a hard time talking to a complete stranger that we don't know. We prefer to talk to someone that we say we trust and that we know. So talking to a complete stranger for some, especially law enforcement, is hard because, you know, we're already very skeptical. We pretty much approach all people from a skeptical, you know, standpoint or untrusting standpoint. And number two, that, you know, being vulnerable. It's very hard for people to be vulnerable. It doesn't even matter what your professional background is. When you meet a new person, if you're trying to, you know, meet the special person that you can marry and spend the rest of your life with, just opening up and being vulnerable means you have to be very comfortable in your skin and accept your flaws. And it's hard for people to be comfortable with their flaws and accept their flaws because they are, again, worried about seeking validation and the approval of other people, and worried about what they're going to think or what they're going to say, versus it's all definitive based on how you feel about you, and with those flaws and with those mistakes and with all that stuff, who do you still see yourself as, even with all of that? Who do you want to be, even having all of that? And does someone else's opinion or evaluation or perception of you matter that much more than what you think of you? And a lot of times we do allow that to outweigh what we think and feel about ourselves. Because if we know that we're not perfect and we know that we always have room for improvement, then we have to look at it and approach it from the position that my life, my testimony is my strength, because that is what's going to help me grow, and it's going to help someone else grow. That's what we call the shortcuts in life. When somebody shares their story and someone else is able to learn from your story, then God gets the glory for that, because that's why he allows us to go through the storms and the things and the struggles that we go through, because it becomes a ministry for us to bless somebody and be a blessing. That's what that means. So had I not ever opened up and talked about what happened to me, then it wouldn't be a lot of people who would be able to apply the 10 guidelines for a fresh start, because at the end of the day, we've all gone through something that we really wish we could just get a fresh start from, whether it was our fault, whether it was not our fault. But, you know, when we go through things that make us battle really strongly in our mind, and it weighs us down, and it causes us to, you know, hit depression and go into places we never thought we could go, mentally, physically, and spiritually, it's a real struggle. You have to, you know, equip yourself and be prepared for, you know, they say prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. Because when it hits you like a ton of bricks, and it goes very fast. You know, there is no handbook or manual as to how your suffering will come, how long your storm will be, or the path that is designed for you to take to learn, you know, so God can continue to make you grow into the person that he wants you to be.
Exactly. And I've often said, you touched on the perception of others. And for years, I spent the first 27 years of my life trying to convince the world that I really was who I was pretending to be. And it wasn't until I went through that experience where I realized that, you know what, I am who I am, and I have to fall completely in love with that person and live my life from there. And it wasn't until that point where everything for me began to change. Talk about the role that faith plays in your healing. Because you mentioned God a few times, and then I know that in the book where you give your 10 guiding principles to getting a fresh start, they're all scriptural based. So talk about how spirituality and your faith help you to heal.
Okay. Okay. If I can go with this.
I can still hear you a little bit. Let's see.
Okay, I didn't start talking. Because it kind of froze, so I didn't know if you could hear me.
Yeah, go ahead. So I was asking if you could, let's see. All right, she popped off for a second.
My faith allows me to know and brings me comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So my faith brings me comfort in situations that I don't have control over the outcome, or, you know, I have control over me. I have control over how I react to a situation, the choices that I make that I'm supposed to try to make to be the best choices for me. But I don't have control over the outcome. I don't have control over how another person is going to treat me, or their motives of trying to attack me and slander me and do all these different things. So with understanding, knowing that God only created one of me. He created me for a specific purpose. He gave me specific gifts. He gave me the opportunity to maximize and utilize the gifts that he gave me. So what I've learned through my faith is, when you are going through a storm or you're being tested and you're going through a trial, you have to keep your focus on your faith, which is tied to what your gifts are and what your God-given purpose is, why you're here. And when you're able to keep your focus on your purpose based on your vision, your faith, and what God gave you, it allows you to grow and to soar in a way that you can't explain people just have to sit back and enjoy the ride, because you know that it couldn't have been anything but God. Because in my flesh, I want to fight the person that slandered me. I want to go back and hurt the person that hurt me. I want to give you a piece of my mind and say, you know what? I understand as a Christian, I'm supposed to be the bigger person. I'm supposed to forgive you. I'm supposed to pray for you. But in actuality, I want to punch you in your face, because nowhere does any human being want someone to attack them, especially behind their back. You know, at least have the decency to say it to my face. But you know, that's not going to happen. And so it's kind of like the song that the OJs say, one of my favorite songs, you know, backstabbers, they smile in your face all the time, want to take your place. So kind of goes back to when you talk about millionaire, billionaire mindset. When you understand that what the objective of the enemy is, then you have to program your mindset to say, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I must be doing what I'm supposed to do, because if I wasn't, then I wouldn't be facing this opposition. I wouldn't be facing this storm. I wouldn't be facing this test. And the whole purpose of that is to distract you of utilizing your gifts to its maximum full potential. And when the more you tap into your faith and the closer you walk with God, the more you're able to soar and go full force, walking in your purpose, to allow God to use you to bless other people, to help other people, to help them grow, to help them overcome the adversity. So that's what my book talks about. And talking about my story is, it's going to help you overcome some kind of adversity in your life. Because as long as you're living, you're going to go through some things. And some things and some tests may be easier to pass than others, but you feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and that you just can't carry it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it, God. I'm just going to throw in the towel. So, you know, that's where you get the encouragement of other people who are like-minded. When you ask somebody to pray for you, you're usually going to ask somebody that you know is of a like mind and has like passion and understand that they've been through something. So they know, they don't have to know what you're going through, but they know how to pray and ask God to give you the strength, the courage, the determination, and the perseverance to stand in the storm and plant your roots and don't move. And it's hard for us to be still, because we like to think that we are in control of everything, but we're really not in control. Just of the choices that we make and how we react to situations. And nobody likes that thorn in their side. Nobody likes to feel that pain. We hate the process, but we love the end result.
Right. I love it. I love it. So, guys, this is Through My Eyes, Brandy Gates, man. I'm telling you, this will bless your spirit. I'm telling you, it will bless your spirit. So tell people really quickly how they can get it, how they can connect with you. Give them all your contact information. I love the t-shirt, by the way. I've got to get me a couple. Tell them how they can grab the t-shirts and everything that you've got going on, how they can connect with you.
Okay, so you can connect with me. If you want to purchase a copy of my book, you can purchase it on Amazon, or you can purchase it directly through me. I have a Facebook page for my book called Through My Eyes book page. The link to my book to purchase it directly from me is on my Facebook page, as well as I will be able to personally autograph your book if you buy it directly through me. I also have a package deal. If you want to buy one of my positive affirmation t-shirts, you can purchase a t-shirt as well as the book together for $40, which includes your shipping. The price would be $50. So you're going to save $10 for the bundle package if you want to purchase both together. And you can inbox me on Facebook, or you can contact me on my cell phone, which is area code 318-512-7149. Again, that's 318-512-7149. My Facebook page is Through My Eyes book page. Has my lovely picture on the front with the book cover.
Awesome. It looks like she froze up one more time, guys, but Through My Eyes book page is where you can go and connect with Brandy. It starts there, and then you can get connected with her everywhere else from there. But bundle package, t-shirt, and book together, give her a call, 318-512-7149. And again, 318-512-7149, so that you can get everything that you need. The book, Positive Affirmation t-shirts. Brandy, it was an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you for having me on the show, Cortez.
Thank you for joining us, man. That story is amazing, guys. You gotta see this. You gotta get this, man. Because then after she gives you a story, she gives you some killer poetry too. When she says she writes, right? She gives you some killer poetry, but also she gives you 10 guidelines for a fresh start. So you definitely want to grab your copy of Through My Eyes. And I'd say get it directly from her. Amazon is cool, but go directly to the source and get your book and get your copy autographed, right? Yeah, I got my copy autographed. Get your copy autographed. So with that, Brandy, I appreciate you for for joining us, and I will plant you a little bit later. Any last words?
My last words is this. That your pain will help you, direct you to find your purpose. So embrace your pain. Don't run from it. Embrace your truth. It makes you the person who you are today. And know that nothing happens by accident, but by divine design. And once you find your purpose, take your purpose and your skill set and turn it into a profitable, business for yourself, for your family, to start building generational wealth and leave a legacy for your children, your children's children, and your great-great-grandchildren.
Awesome. So that is the lovely Brandy Gates. Guys, go out and cop the book, and then put in the comments that you are going to grab a copy. Can I get those in the comment who are committed to grab the book, a t-shirt, and or both? Thanks a lot, Brandy. All right, so that was Brandy Gates. Man, powerful. Who goes through an explosion less than 50 feet away? I know for a fact I would be thinking constantly that I almost just died, right? It will definitely bring a lot of things into perspective. It will definitely change your life and have you thinking about some things so intensely. And then I believe that was some of the stuff that led to her saying, wait a minute, let me go back and all of this stuff in my life. Let me go back and address all of this stuff too, because I almost just died. So now that I'm here and I'm going to live, I'm not going to live and continue to carry the burden and the weight of all of that. I'm going to get rid of all of this stuff. And again, we got to thank her for her service. So Monica Lamb says she's going to purchase directly through Bethany. She's in the stream now. So that brings us to our next author for today, man. Good friend of mine. Another kindred spirit in the sense that have gone through some things in their lives, and you know what, are good on the other side of some of the things that this young lady has gone through. So I'm not going to delay and run my trap any longer. I'm going to go ahead and let's introduce our next guest. Again, a good friend, radio personality, TV show host. Look up Red Carpet, man, and you can find this young lady on almost any red carpet all over the country. There's no telling where she would be a pillar in our community for bringing positive information and bringing people together to really move the agenda forward by way of creating an environment that our babies can grow up safe in, creating a safe haven for us as adults to continue to walk and grow in our development. So without further ado, I want to introduce to some and present to others Miss Renee LadyRaeJ Johnson. Let me get you on. All right, young lady. Welcome to the show this morning. Thanks for getting up early and coming to hang out with us. Give me a mic check really quick.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Let me turn the volume up so YouTube can get you on as well. LadyRaeJ, you also have a very interesting story that we're going to get into, things that you have to overcome to be who you are in life today. But tell us a little bit about who you are first and foremost, your background, and how did you end up getting your story in Pretty in His Presence, right?
Right. Okay. So good morning, faces, and how are you? I'm so glad that you guys joined, especially the ones that I have invited. Thank you so much. I am, well, kind of situation. I have 3 older brothers. They're half brothers of mine. My mom adopted my dad's sons after they met, and their mother abandoned them. And so she took on 3 boys, brand new wife, and adopted 3 boys. Then my mom and dad had me and my brother. So I'm the only girl, and I have 4 other siblings. I was in the United States Air Force for a brief time, and I was on full active duty, got hurt, came home on an honorable discharge, and decided to go into nursing. So as I was in nursing and working with patients as a registered nursing student, I was doing a lot of counseling, talking with them, patient advocacy, which was not my job, okay? I was supposed to be taking care of them in other ways, you know, vitals, bedpan, passing meds, but I'm counseling. So my nursing instructor told me she thought that I needed to go into counseling, even though I was a great nursing student. So I have a bachelor's in psychology from St. Louis University, and career development was one of my specialties, along with having science, which I love science. So I went on into counseling and have my master's of education degree from the University of Missouri St. Louis in behavioral studies, which is now known as community counseling. Right. I've worked with gang-ridden areas. I've had to go into the various school districts. I had a lot of the public schools in the inner city. I worked with parents in neighborhoods. At that time, they called the students at risk. I called them college bound. So I would not tell the students that you're an at-risk student. I told them that you are a college bound student. And through my program, you will learn how to do what you need to do to get to college. After that, I went into social services, and I think that that was the most impactful for this reason. I started working years later with individuals who were domestically abused. So I was in the women's shelters working with those women that had been abused, teaching them job skills, helping them to gain their independence and to be self-sufficient. Little did I know that I was being prepared to be my own advocate as I became a victim of domestic violence.
Wow. All right. So before we go there, let me read something from this book. So for those of you who don't know, I just, again, thank you for your service as well, RaeJ. I don't know if you guys get it, man. You can say what you want about this country, but we have some wonderful service men and women who do what they do, which allows us the freedom to do what we do. So you always have to keep that in mind. But I want to read a portion of your story, and then I want you to clue our listeners and viewers in to tell them who said this to you, when and how it all came to be, right? It says, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm seeing someone. I've been seeing her for a while now, and I plan to actively pursue her. Now, I don't want you to worry about anything but getting better. I'll file for divorce when you complete your treatment. She and I discussed it, and she said it was the right thing to do. So who's the speaker? Who's hearing this? Give us the context of that conversation right there.
Okay, so I had chemotherapy. I'm a survivor of stage 3 breast cancer. I had already been stricken with type 2 diabetes about a year or so prior to this. I'm literally at home from treatment, racked with pain, rocking back and forth in an oversized leather chair, if I'm painting that picture for you. My, as I call him, husband, comes in and tells me that if I hadn't figured it out, he was seeing another woman. He had been talking with her for months that I did not know. He had been at her Christmas party of her office, and he wanted to let me know that he had done that. And he said he felt so relieved that he had finally told me, and that they discussed what should happen from that point forward with them moving on with their life and getting rid of me. And it was just best. It was the Christian thing to do, is what she actually said to him, to stay with me until I got on my feet and was able to perhaps receive disability or go back to work, whichever came first. And then they would be able to move on with their lives and I could move on with mine.
So ex-husband, this is how he lets you know it's over in the midst of not just the storm. This is, you are in the midst of fighting for your life.
Literally.
This is the timing that he figured was best to add to the complications of everything that you were dealing with. So talk a little bit about, because you said in the book that led to not only you went from dealing with physical pain to now having to deal with emotional and psychological pain as you're coming to the terms with the fact that your 20+ year marriage is coming to an end. What state of mind were you in at that point, and how would you weigh the pain physically and then emotionally and psychologically as you were dealing with both at the same time?
Well, it would be easy to talk about that one situation, but wait, there's more. My employer decided that they no longer wanted me and told me that I needed to find other employment. However, I was not fired, but this was a heads up that you need to start looking. So my supervisor said, let me look at your resume, and I'm going to redo it because the current resume you have has too much bling, were her words, in it.
Wow.
And I didn't understand what is bling in a resume. Well, you have so many attributes that you may actually have more than the person that you're interviewing for the job for. So we need to dumb you down. So now my supervisor is trying to get rid of me. My ex-husband at the time, wanted to get rid of me. And as a result, he would not pay the mortgage. So I lost my health, my job, and my home. I became homeless for a time. I've got an older child in college and a younger child still at home with us in high school. I'm trying to give them normalcy while I'm dealing with all of this insanity. And quite honestly, I said to my pastor at the time, Jeff Forrest, I don't understand when my name changed from Renee to Job Etta, because I'm losing everything. And the one thing that he said to me that helped to keep me steady is, you do know what happened to Job at the end of the story.
Right. And so, that's powerful to keep in mind. So yeah, you literally lost everything. And talk about a little bit, and sometimes we as adults make decisions and we don't consider everybody, because you got 2 kids in the middle of all of this drama, one in high school, one who's literally physically have to uproot, and his whole life changed because of that decision. So how did that affect the kids as you guys were going through the mire and the murk of what was an ending marriage, basically losing your home? How did that affect the kids? And then how did you, as Mama Bear, protect them as best you could to try to keep that normalcy?
Yeah, so it affected my oldest son. He separated because he was in Michigan in college. So his thing was, I have nothing to come home to. I have no reason to come home. There is no home. So he disengaged that way. He actually sought counseling on campus. So he went and sought out his own counseling. With his mother being a counselor, I'm a counselor by degree. He was also a psych major. So he was able to wrap his own self up in the comfort of counseling and support on campus. Unfortunately, my youngest son, he was not that fortunate. He became very angry. He was disregarding authority at school. He would not talk to the counselors or teachers about his home situation. We were getting countless calls about his misbehavior. And this is a kid that's an honor roll student who is captain of every sports team that he played in high school. Everyone looked up to him, very popular, big little man on campus at high school. And now who went from A and B going to C and D and just even failing because of everything that he was going through. The main thing that bothered him was the fact that his father kept coming in at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, but could not take him to Bible study at 5:30 in the evening because he had someplace else to be.
Wow.
So my youngest son was trying to understand what is more important than me and mom. And his father eventually told him, well, your mother and I are spiritually divorced. God no longer recognizes our marriage because we no longer seem to be spiritually connected and agree with one another. So therefore, I have a girlfriend. And it's okay. Only the law is recognizing the marriage because it's a legal document. My son said to his father, there is nowhere in the Bible where I saw that it is okay to have a girlfriend and a wife. That was the end of it. And he then started to seek help because the person he looked up to get most of his advice from had failed him. And his mom is sick. And he's trying to, at 17, understand what's going on, take care of his mother, and then also be in high school with those pressures. So I usually had to talk to the counseling staff. And once they understood what was going on, then he was able to get the support that he needed.
Right. So at 17, that's junior, senior year, right? This is a critical time. We know that it's really only critical in the mind of the kid, right? We know that it's not that critical, but in the mind of a kid, this is my senior year, man. I got things to do. I'm trying to, and this is what he has to be faced with. And tell me again, what the heck is a spiritual divorce? What is that?
That's what was said, honey. Spiritual divorce.
What the heck is that?
God no longer recognized our marriage, only man, only the law. So it was okay for him to do what he was doing.
Wow. You can rationalize anything, I guess. So that's where you were. Now talk about how you picked yourself up from there, right? I know faith played a huge role. You had to lean on your spiritual counselors and the word of God, but talk about how and what was the process like to go, because you had to go up from there. Again, you lost everything. You had to go up from there with your health. You had to go up from there with your emotional well-being. You had to go up from there with getting gainfully employed and learning how to generate income again and all of that kind of stuff, man. So talk about your journey up from there.
Well, the one thing that helped me is because my family is very, very small. I've always built an extended family. So I've had friends and church members on the outside of my intimate family circle that I could rely on. But even in that moment of sickness, of losing the house, being homeless, and then going through a divorce, through resources, I found an attorney because I had nothing. I had no income whatsoever. My disability had been denied. So I'm totally relying upon my spouse and his income, of which he took from me, and used that to dangle it. Because when I say domestic violence, people think that for the most part you have to be hit in order to say that you are a victim. It's mental, emotional, financial, as well as physical abuse. It's about power and control. And he controlled the purse strings in this instance. So he dangled that. If you do what I tell you to do, I'll get your medicine. If you do what I tell you to do, I'll pay that loan off that you was paying when you had a job. But if you keep messing with me, you won't get anything, and your little cell phone will be cut off. Those are the types of conversations that I had with him. So being in that environment, I knew I had to leave. So I had to make a choice to leave the home that was going to be foreclosed on and go somewhere, which I knew working in the women's shelters, being ill, that was not some place that I could go because it would truly kill me. I would die. I mean, I already knew it. And I decided, I reached out to some people. Some folks invited me, then disinvited me. And then my friend, Dallas Jameson, who is my radio host at Ferguson, he and I have been friends for nearly 30 years. So he's been with me practically through me getting married, having children, as well as I with him. He put me and my son at his house, like immediately, gave me the key and said, this is now your home. You stay here for, you know, as long as you feel you need to. And in that moment, Cortez, I had to decide to disengage from everyone because I was getting, girl, if that had been me, girl, I would do this. Do you know where she lived? Everything was like, go get that, you know, handle your business. I'm taking my earrings off. Here we come. Where's she at? You know, and that was something that I didn't need because I didn't blame her. She acted on what she was told. I blame him because he knew what his role was and he knew the situation. Now, I left the house. I went to Dallas's house. Dallas had a very nice, warm bedroom for me. And I told him, no, I wanted to go in the basement. And let me explain that. I had to disengage. I had to pull away from everything and get into the closest thing to the grave while you are alive is a cold, dark basement. Surrounded by concrete. And I had to go and get literally in the word. So I remember what my pastor said about Job. So I decided to go to the book of Job and I studied it. And I mean, I studied it. I didn't talk to people. I didn't want to be around anyone. I pulled away from my church. Some of my church members tried to help me financially, which I appreciated that because I needed it. Some of them didn't know what to believe, you know, because we were a family at this church. All of us went to church. We were active in ministry there. So it was difficult for people to even know how to choose sides. But I went into a still, quiet place. And I just told the Lord, I understood that this was my assignment. I didn't know what he was trying to teach me. I did say that. But I never asked the Lord, why me? I just knew that he would be glorified in the end. I held on to that. And that equipped me to navigate through what I went through. But then I'm so vain. I did not want to look like what I was going through. So I kept it cute, honey. I always had to be cute. So even when I went to treatment, people were always talking about how I was smiling. It's that mask that Brandy talked about, how we are very good at putting up a front and putting on a mask. Because I know that people will pray on the weak and not P-R-A-Y, P-R-E-Y. So I had to make sure that I did not look weak. And in the spirit, I was tired. I was hurt. And I let the Lord know that I was tired and that I was hurt. But I did not want to be bitter. In that moment, when I finally got to where I could forgive and release that, I told my ex-husband, I forgive you because I cannot let your ills become my ills. There's something going on in your mind. There's something going on in your heart. Someone hurt you when you were a child, and that has bled over into everything that you're doing. And I let him know, I have not turned your children against you. In fact, I told them, choose you over me if they had to make a choice, because you need the support. I'm good. And that's only the peace that surpasses all understanding, Cortez. That is the peace that God instilled in me. And when I was able to accept everything that this had nothing to do with me,
Mm-hmm.
but everything to do with God using this opportunity to help someone, to help a bunch of women. He had already placed me in that work environment. Now
Right.
I'm on the other side of the desk advocating for my own behalf. So I got a firsthand view at what this looks like to be alone or feel deserted and
Right.
abandoned. And because I had the love that I felt for the Lord, I have a closer relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I came out better for it.
Right. So let's talk about you coming out better for it, because if those of you who are not Christians and you don't really know about Job and Job's story, Job had everything taken from him. So much, and here's how quickly everything was taken from him. The scripture literally says that when one servant would come give him word that he was losing a family member, before that servant can finish talking, another servant was coming saying, hey, you lost your wife. Before he finished saying that, another servant said, hey, you lost your kid. Before he can finish talking, another servant said, hey, you just lost everything you own. So understand that losing everything, this woman has lost everything, but how is she on the other side? Stage 3 cancer, kick butt, healthy. Dr. Deloney just helped you go through another transformation very recently. Job, no income, that's cool. Phenomenal female entrepreneur, doing it all over the St. Louis city and all over the country, literally pulling resources and income out of the sky, right? When she before was depending on an employer to help her do all of that, and they still don't want to act right with that, right? So did the health get restored? Yes, and then some. Did the income get restored? Yes, and then some. Did the children get restored? Yes, and then some, because I know both AJ and Malik and what they're doing now, phenomenal, on a path to great things. Did the relationship get restored? Yes and yes. My main man, Easy Weathersby, I think he was checking, but I know that you are now in a place with a better relationship, and you recently just got engaged, right?
Yay! Yes, I did. And you know, with everything that I went through, I never punish another person for someone else's sin. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because with everything that I've been through, and I had some jokers in between before my Easy came,
Right.
but I'm just saying I never allowed that to embitter me. I left whatever happened with that man.
Right.
And I even told him, I prayed for you. I've turned you over to God, and I wish you nothing but the best.
Mm-hmm.
And I meant that, because he's been miserable. I don't know how long of his life before me.
Right.
But I know that I had to let that go and release him so I could move forward, because he could no longer have the power over me by doing that. So everything was restored, but I worked. I'm not going to say it was easy. It's not. And did I want to get revenge? Oh, yes. Even before I lived there, I wanted to get revenge. And a lot of people don't know, but I had a moment where he was just sound asleep, just sleep in another room, knocked out. And I was standing up there, and I had a weapon in my hand. I'm just going to say, y'all know I was former military, so we'll leave it at that.
Right.
And I heard a little voice tell me, he's not worth it.
Wow. Wow.
And that is what I decided to do, was walk away, because you're right. My kids would not be with me. I would not be where I am. There would be so much messiness, and he's not worth it. Yeah. So I turned around and walked away, and that was the day that I decided I had to leave that house.
Right.
So that's when I left. But the main thing is the support system. If you don't have one within your family, find one outside of your family. Yeah. It may be a few friends that you know that you can trust your secrets to, that's not in the rumor mill. Even in the church, I had to refrain from talking to some individuals in the church because of the relationship they had with the both of us.
Right. Exactly.
And that one tell that to him about what I was doing, I stayed way under the radar. Right. So when I felt like, you know what, it's my time, I'm ready, my boys are good, my health is not as great as it could be, but better than almost at death's door, because that's what the doctor says, she's dying.
Right.
And we don't know why. So once I came back from that, I told this story to Minister Raleigh Thornton Jr. And he is the brain trust, the brainchild of the book Pretty in His Presence. Yeah. So Pretty in His Presence is a compilation of stories from several different authors. I'm one of them. Janice Wilson, she did a tribute. Her tribute page is awesome. We've got Penny Shute Martin, who I'm friends with, and we've been talking. Her story is in there. So Pretty in His Presence is about things that should have killed us. Honestly, we should have died, but we were not taken out of here because we were still pretty in His presence. His presence meaning God the Almighty. Yep. And that's what it meant for us. And to tell our stories on how we came out better is the reason why we put this book together. And Minister Thornton said that God spoke to him and said that these stories was to help others and to give them an idea about you're not in it alone, an idea about this is going to pass as well for you. And maybe something in our story would minister to them and help them to seek out the resources that they needed so that they could move forward.
Powerful, powerful. Look, I just want you to make sure that I mention this. You're going to connect with Marty Casey. Ask me why.
Marty and I are friends, so why am I connecting with Marty?
Your story needs to be turned into a stage play.
Oh my gosh, are you so serious, Marty?
So really quickly, I know, guys, we are beyond 8 o'clock. Every show this week will probably go up to about 8:10. So tell everybody where and how they can reach you, how they can get their hands on Pretty in His Presence, and what you got going on, because I know you always got something going on.
What's the going ons? I know. Okay, so you can get me on Facebook at LadyRaeJ Johnson. You can request a friendship. Also, I'm on Twitter at @1RayJohnson. I'm also on Instagram at JohnsonRaeJ. You can also email me at 1RayJohnson@gmail.com, and that's the number 1. You can buy the book through Amazon, Create Space, and Barnes & Noble. Or better yet, you can get the book from me directly in the St. Louis area.
Directly. Yes. I ain't hating on nobody's hustle, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, but if we can keep all of that and not put a piece in their pocket, we gonna do that. So everybody who's interested in getting the book, comment. Let me know if you're committed to getting this book, because this is her story is amazing, but there's some other amazing stories in there. So reach out to Ray J, get the book from her. I have the link in my description to Amazon if you must go through Amazon. But otherwise, get in touch with Ray J and she'll ship your copy, autograph it for you, and all that good stuff.
Exactly. Exactly. One other thing that's coming up this month, I'm in a movie. The movie is called City's Biggest Heist. It will be showing at the Tivoli. We may have a couple of tickets. So whoever inbox me first with the words Pretty in His Presence, you will get 2 tickets to come to the movie and see us on the red carpet May 25th in the Del Mar Loop at the Tivoli Theater if you're here locally in St. Louis.
Awesome, awesome. So Ray, you know it's always a pleasure when we hook up. I love everything that you're doing. I love that you are empowering women all over this country, and especially since you are empowering them to do what I love to teach on, is be entrepreneurs, right? Turn your passions into profits. Take your stories and turn them into something that will live forever and will pay you forever. Right? I really, really appreciate you. Tell them really quickly how they can hear you on the radio and all that stuff as well.
Okay, so if you go to Ferguson USA, hottalkradio.com, Monday through Friday, you can hear me from 5 to 7 p.m. on Discussions with Dallas, live with Ray J. The Easy Treatment Lounge from 10 p.m. to midnight, Monday through Thursday. I produce that show as well. And every Sunday, Brown Sugar Sunday Jazz Show, 4 to 6 p.m. I produce that show as well. So we have 3 shows that I produce. Around Town with Dallas and Ray J can be seen on YouTube under that name. And my new television show will be airing hopefully this month, called The Other Side. You need a membership to Hulu, Roku, and Ministry on Demand, Apple TV, and it is my TV talk show. If you are interested in being on that show and featuring a product or service that you have, then you can email me at theothersidetalkshow@gmail.com.
Awesome, awesome. So that's it for today's show, guys. The rest of this week, you're going to be hearing from some powerful authors who are really trying to help our community heal, get better, grow through their written words, man. So I'm your main man, H Cortez, the one and only financial health mentor to the Black community. Until I talk to you guys next time, I want you to get your money up, because you absolutely can do it.